So people have all sorts of fancy jigs to cut circles and stuff. It really doesn't have to be that complicated. I need to cut a quick, roughly 2-foot diameter circle. This is actually a little smaller than 2 feet, but it's for a kid's school project and doesn't need to be exactly anything. This piece is square. Well, it's missing a corner over there, so, and then I always make a sled like this. It's just a board. It's got a rail across the back that's square, and it's got a hardwood guide that just rides in the table saw slot. And you wax up the guide, and it's really nice for cutting panels and stuff like that. Very rarely do I bother making a proper. This usually does most of what I need it to do. And serves as a work surface, as you can tell with all the stains and stuff on it. So, find the middle. Like I said, I'm missing that corner, so I'm just going to approximate. And the middle will be somewhere in here. So in terms of this, I know that if I line this up with the very edge, that's where it's going to cut. The only complication is that you need to leave enough room for it to clear this rail on the end. So I know that I've got to get it approximately that high. So somewhere about there. Got a little 3D finish now, and now I've got my pivot. So everything clears. Everything clears. And I mentioned it before, I'm fairly tall, so I hang everything from the ceiling. That also keeps the kids out of it. And first, I'm going to cut the corners off, get it pretty close, and then at some point I am going to put it so it is next to, pretty much lined up with the tips of the blade. And I'll spin it around, and that will make my circle. Sometimes you'll find that you can or can't turn it. It depends on the saw blade you're using or whatever. If you can't, you kind of go to where it starts binding and cut another straight cutoff. And eventually you get to the point where you can just spin it the whole way around. Does separate, apparently sucked up one of those wedges. It'll just rattle around there until I turn the thing off. It should be okay. Kind of the two major tricks here are don't turn it backwards and don't let go of the board, because if you let go of the board, it can start spinning on you, and then things can get kind of dangerous. Generally, this is a fairly safe thing to do, especially with bigger circles. I wouldn't do anything small with this. Small, use a router jig or something else. Looks like I'm a little bit off here. It's really not a big deal. I don't really need this to be that round, but just for the sake of argument, let's make it that round. By a little bit off, I got a little flat spot here and a little flat spot here. The rest is round. So, easy way to fix that, just pry this up off the board. Flat spot so it's right at the edge. I think that's the bigger flat spot. Hammer. Tap that in. That'll be good. Feed. Now, if you're not all that confident with using a table saw, the thing that you can do to make this a little safer is when you feed it in and find your sweet spot with this saw blade, you may have noticed I was kind of fidgeting back and forth. There's going to be a spot where it's going to cut the smallest circle, closest to that edge, where everything's most lined up. Also, the higher the saw blade is, the easier it is to find that spot, and the better the blade is going to cut. But the less safe it is because clearly your blade's sticking up. But if you're not all that confident with your table saw, feed it into where it's cutting the best, and then stop the saw. Like I said, you don't want to let go of the wood, especially before it's cut. But and put a clamp, anywhere in here, just to hold it down so it won't slide around. And just to show you guys. Nice, perfect circle. I guess while I'm here, if you're curious, somebody's going to say they don't want a hole in the middle of the board or whatever. A finish nail this size, you can literally it's going to focus or not, but that's just about gone. And a little tiny bit of wood filler, and or even just sanding, and you put a little bit of glue on there and sand it, and the sanding dust will actually get in there, and it will completely hide that hole. So that's the reason why smaller finish nail you use, the easier it is to deal with. All right. Like I said, hopefully that helps somebody. Have a good one, guys.